You never have to worry about anything like eternal destiny when you die, or maybe you'll get reincarnated and have to repeat this same cycle of having no meaning or no purpose for your existence.
You good, bro? Let's get one thing out of the way first. Atheists, including us, don't tend to believe in reincarnation, so I'm not entirely sure why it was brought up. Welcome to Rational Disbelief. I'm Joe.
And I'm Kat. And today we're going to be looking at a jam-packed TikTok made by an army chaplain about why atheism doesn't make sense. To start things off, we would like to thank him for his service to this country.
Absolutely. Also, we should mention that this one took a couple of weeks to research and plan, so buckle up, it's gonna be a long ride.
Christianity makes sense. A virgin had God's baby, who then grew up to be murdered.
No. What I meant to say is that atheism makes sense. See, once there was absolutely nothing. Until then, nothing magically exploded out of nowhere and for no reason, creating everything and everyone.
You know it's a good sign when someone groups everyone into a single bucket and makes assumptions about what we think and what our claims are or will be. Speaking of grouping people and making assumptions, we will be talking about Christians and Christian beliefs in this video quite a bit. But we want to make sure that we mention that we are going off of what is being said in the original TikTok, as well as our own personal experiences and beliefs from when we were Christians. We understand that not all Christians will agree with these viewpoints that we talk about, and if that describes you, we would love it if you can let us know your views in the comments so we can get a better idea of all the various viewpoints.
To start things off here, he seems to imply that atheism is some sort of religion, or that we all think the same things. Atheism is not a religion. There's no list of core beliefs or practices that come along with it. Atheist just means a person who does not believe in the existence of a god or gods. That's it. There are several different labels and types of atheism that people may use, like agnostic atheist or hard atheist, also called Gnostic atheist. Along with that, there are additional labels such as secular humanist or free thinker that add in more of a philosophy or life stance. What we personally call ourselves is simply atheist. We don't currently believe in a god or a higher power. We just don't think there's evidence to support the belief in one. Some may also call this agnostic atheist. If we were giving convincing evidence of a god, however, we would be open to changing our stance, because to us, the most important thing is finding the truth. Keep this in the back of your mind as we watch the rest of this video, as it will be a recurring theme.
Coming back to the original claim that essentially stated nothing produced something, this is a misrepresentation of what the Big Bang Theory actually entails. The scientists proposed that there was likely to be a small microscopic ball of electrons and quarks, which are the smallest possible particles that make up all other particles, that then expanded rapidly, creating space and time, otherwise called space-time, though even this isn't fully agreed upon currently. Ultimately, this is just one, albeit a popular one, of the many theories that are proposed to explain how our universe came to be. Some atheists, like myself, think that there is a good amount of validity in the Big Bang Theory. Currently, scientists are able to explain what happened all the way back to the first 1/10,000,000th of a trillionth of a trillionth of a trillionth of a second of our universe's existence. However, there is still a lot we don't know about our universe, including the exact cause of how it came to be. This is why arguably the most honest answer to give when asking how our universe came to be is I don't know.
And despite what some people may say, I don't know is a valid answer. Just because we don't know for certain the answer to the beginning of the universe right now does not mean we can inject a creator to fill that gap without any evidence. That would be called God of the Gaps, which tends to be used anytime there is a gap in our current scientific knowledge. God is used to fill in the blanks as a way to explain what happened as certainty, despite not being able to show any proof of that claim. Keep in mind that people used to use the same logic for things like lightning and thunder, earthquakes and volcanoes. They didn't understand how these things happened, so they assumed it was a god or gods causing them. But eventually, science was able to explain how those occur. Science is always making new discoveries and learning more and more about our world and our universe. So hopefully, we'll continue to get more answers.
Then a bunch of the exploded everything magically rearranged itself, also for no reason whatsoever, into self-replicating bits that turned into dinosaurs.
I want to quickly circle back to something we didn't talk about in the previous section. He noted that nothing magically exploded out of nowhere and for no reason, creating everything and everyone. I'm not sure if he's intentionally conflating these, but the Big Bang Theory and the start of the universe are not the same as evolution, which is what he's referring to here in this section.
Definitely hard to know his intention. He may just be implying that the components needed to create life were created in the Big Bang, but I do know that up until recently, I honestly thought that the Big Bang and evolution were tied together instead of being entirely separate things, because that's how it was always presented to me, that the Big Bang equals evolution. Now I understand that the Big Bang refers to the start of the universe, space, and time, and evolution is specifically about life on this planet and how it changed over the years.
That's right. You know the funny thing about the claim that a bunch of the exploded everything magically rearranged itself into self-replicating bits is that we've actually been able to replicate this in a lab setting time and time again over the past 70 or so years. We've been able to take these base elements and conditions that would have existed long ago on Earth and have found that within a very short amount of time, amino acids, which are the building blocks of life, had formed. Imagine what would have happened if we waited millions and millions of years, just like what happened here on Earth. Additionally, we've found amino acids in meteorites, organic matter on Mars, and other organic molecules throughout our Milky Way galaxy and the rest of the universe. In general, we have a pretty good understanding of how early life came to be on our planet. While there are still some things we don't know, the likely consensus is that future discoveries will only bring us closer to answers, rather than proving everything to be false. This only scratches the surface of all of the evidence we have, but the fossil record, homologous or common structures, biogeography, embryology, and many, many other scientific discoveries and disciplines all support evolution.
If you want to learn more about evolution, I highly recommend checking out both Forrest Valkai and Gutsit Gibbon on YouTube and other social media. Forrest is a biologist and a science educator, and Erika, or Gutsit Gibbon, is working towards her PhD in biological anthropology. So both are very knowledgeable and have some amazing videos that really helped me to understand evolution and what evidence there actually is for it. We have linked both their channels in the description below, and I've linked to a specific playlist of Forrest that goes over the basics of evolution as well.
And since there is no God, your life has no purpose and no meaning to it.
Okay, hold on there. Why exactly do we need a purpose? And better yet, how does he know that I don't have my own purpose in life? The entire question of what is the purpose of life is logically invalid. It is a loaded question from the start. A loaded question is a question that has a presumption built into it so that it can't be answered without appearing guilty. It paints you into a corner before you've even had a chance to speak. By phrasing the question in this way, it assumes that there's only one correct answer instead of allowing an open-ended answer that can vary from person to person.
Of course, if you ask a Christian what the purpose of life is, they will likely have an answer ready. There is a popular Christian book about the Christian perspective of life's purpose that I remember going through several times in the churches that I attended. You may have heard of it. It's called The Purpose-Driven Life by Pastor Rick Warren. Here's what he says about the purpose of life. It's not about you. The purpose of your life is far greater than your own personal fulfillment, your peace of mind, or even your happiness. It's far greater than your family, your career, or even your wildest dreams and ambitions. If you want to know why you were placed on this planet, you must begin with God. You were born by His purpose and for His purpose. You were planned for God's pleasure. You exist for His benefit, His glory, His purpose, and His delight. Bringing enjoyment to God and living for His pleasure is the first purpose of your life. Basically, you need to put God and whatever you or others think His plan for you is above everything else, above any dream or any plan that you may have for yourself. In contrast, the philosopher Ayn Rand once said, "The question should be, what is the purpose of your life? What is the purpose of my life? What is the purpose of each particular individual about whom we inquire? But not what is the purpose of life? Asked that way, it seems to imply that somebody outside of us, naturally some supernatural being, is the one who has to prescribe that purpose, and that we should spend our life trying to find it out and then live up to it. There is no such thing as the purpose of life in that sense, because life is an end in itself. Life is the purpose of life. You should enjoy your life. You should be happy in it. Your proper moral obligation is to pursue the highest form of happiness possible to you. Personally, I resonate with this version more now. I believe that my purpose in life is to try and make the best life I can for myself and to actively try to enrich the lives of those around me. Simple as that.
Well said. I completely understand where you're coming from. I also resonate with helping others since I was raised in the Boy Scouts. So I abide by doing a good turn daily. That is, to help others whenever you can without expecting anything in return. Additionally, maybe it's my ADHD, but I also like to live by my personal adage of the day you stop learning is the day you stop living. Sure, that may be a bit of a hyperbole, but I constantly crave learning something new whenever I can. This also helps me find new ways of helping others.
Even better, since there is no God, there is no objective morality, and you can be God and determine for yourself what's good and evil without any consequences whatsoever.
First off, I don't think I'm a god because I don't believe God exists. Second, morality exists entirely separate from the Bible and God. Now you may be wondering, what does morality look like without the Bible? Good is that which advances an individual's life and happiness without violating the rights of other individuals' lives or the pursuit of their happiness. Basically, morality is based on empathy for others and altruism. You can decide with empathy as your guide if an action is harmful or beneficial. For example, is murder only wrong because the Bible says it is, despite God murdering thousands of people in the Old Testament? Or is it wrong because you wouldn't want that to happen to you or anyone else? Theft would be good for the thief, but ultimately would harm the victim, so it would be considered wrong using this morality.
If your morality only comes from God and religion, and you give no thought to if the action would be harmful or helpful to others, then that's not morality. That's thoughtless obedience. If you left your religion, or if it was somehow proven to you that a God did not exist, does that mean that you would be comfortable with killing someone, or hurting them, or stealing, or doing anything else that would harm someone? If so, then you're not a moral person. You are simply an obedient person. As Albert Einstein said in Religion and Science, a man's ethical behavior should be based effectually on sympathy, education, and social ties and needs. No religious basis is necessary. Man would indeed be in a poor way if he had to be restrained by fear of punishment and hopes of reward after death.
On the topic of punishment, there are definitely consequences to immoral actions. Just maybe not in the afterlife, since we don't believe the afterlife exists. There are consequences that would greatly affect your life, such as prison, monetary fines or losses, losing your career, losing possessions, or even ruining relationships, not to mention a myriad of other smaller consequences that may add up over time.
So, marry whoever you want and have sex with whoever you want to as many times as you want to. You never have to worry about anything like eternal destiny when you die, or maybe you'll get reincarnated and have to repeat this same cycle of having no meaning or no purpose for your existence.
You good, bro? Let's get one thing out of the way first. Atheists, including us, don't tend to believe in reincarnation, so I'm not entirely sure why it was brought up. Nevertheless, even if it was true, we'll go back to what we said before, that we'll have our own personal purpose for life. Nothing really changes there. Also, I don't worry about my eternal destiny, because as we mentioned before, we don't believe that an afterlife exists. While I still have to worry about the consequences of my actions while I am alive, after I die, well, I'll just be dead. I have no knowledge or memory of what happened before I was born, and I likely won't have any knowledge of what happens after I die.
That's a great point. What I'm wondering is, why does it always come back to you must be an atheist because you want to have sex and sin? This is something I was told about atheists when I was a believer as well. I can tell you that it is absolutely not the case for most atheists. But hey, I found something I agree with him on. Marry whoever you want. Love is love, and I completely agree that you should be able to marry whomever you want, because as we talked about before, we should not be violating the rights of other individuals' lives or the pursuit of their happiness.
But wait a minute. See, we evolved from monkeys. So all of my reasoning isn't really concerned with truth whatsoever. It's only concerned with what's conducive to my species. So why should I or even you trust anything that I'm saying in this video?
So I was going to let him off the hook here because he acknowledged in his comments that he was wrong about atheists believing that we evolved from monkeys, but all of his comments have mysteriously disappeared, and the comments are now turned off on this TikTok. Just to clarify, we don't believe that we evolved from monkeys. We know, because we have evidence within biology and the fossil record, among other things, that we have a common ancestor with chimpanzees that lived roughly 5 to 8 million years ago, which then diverged into two separate lineages. One lineage ultimately evolved into chimps and apes, and the other evolved into hominids.
I think he's also trying to imply that because we believe in evolution and the Big Bang over creationism, we're okay with lying to ourselves instead of believing the truth that is the Word and God, because it's more beneficial to us as a survival mechanism. This is simply a gross mischaracterization of what the science has taught us throughout the years. This is a perfect example of what is called a straw man argument, or straw manning, which is when you misrepresent someone's argument to make it easier to attack. The ironic part here is that what is actually conducive to the survival of our species is having open and honest discussions about every topic, especially politics and religion. As we mentioned before, we should be using empathy as our guide when engaging in these discussions.
Treating others with empathy and really listening are very important. As for his last sentence, why should I or even you trust anything I'm saying in this video? The easy answer is we shouldn't. You also shouldn't blindly trust what we say in this video either. This is why we always include our sources and links in the descriptions of our videos, so that you can check our sources and do your own research. Remember, dare to question and dare to discover.
So, just to recap, nothing produced something. Non-life produced life, and non-intelligent life produced intelligent life. And all of that is far more believable than anything that's written in the Bible.
We've already covered all of the points he brings up here in detail, so I won't go over them again. But one thing I do want to draw attention to is his overall attitude and tone. As we talked about before, we think it is very important to have open and honest discussions with people who don't think the same way that we do, and to have empathy as we listen to them and their reasons for their points of view. It seems pretty evident by his tone and body language here that he is more in a place of defensiveness and attacking, which would just cause tension and probably defensiveness from the other side as well. Instead of having a rational discussion, this can lead the conversation to devolve into emotional attacks. This is actually something known as the backfire effect, which is when evidence contradicts or challenges our deepest convictions, but our beliefs just get stronger and trigger an emotional response rather than a reasoned response. Let's be honest, challenging belief systems is always going to be a touchy subject. It tends to form a big part of your identity, and it can be really scary when it gets questioned. It can be equally scary and difficult when you're questioning your own beliefs and convictions too. I know that it was incredibly hard for me, and it is honestly still something that I struggle with at times, but it is sometimes necessary to help discover truth.
This is why we believe practicing empathy is an important part of living your day-to-day life. Let's take a moment to engage with what has been said in this video from the other side. Allow me to play angel's advocate for a moment here. Let's assume everything he says is true, and all of the talking points that we've mentioned up until this point are deemed to be completely false. All he has done is prove that what the science has shown thus far is false, but he has not provided a scintilla of evidence for why the Bible is true, and by extension, why it makes more sense. I will not entirely fault him for making this argument in this way, as the original video, which is from the atheist perspective of Christianity, is also guilty of this very same thing. The implication of such an argument is that it shifts the burden of proof onto the wrong side of the argument. The burden of proof should lie with the person who is making the claim. In this example, the claim is that the Bible makes more sense than the Big Bang and evolution, and as such, they should be providing evidence bolstering why the Bible should be trusted over science. Instead, both the atheist from the very beginning of the video and this chaplain make the error of strawmanning the other side without bringing up anything to back up their beliefs or claims. That's precisely why we've spent roughly 20 minutes reacting to a minute-and-a-half long clip, just so we can provide evidence to support our own beliefs and claims.
Speaking of claims, that's enough claims for one video. I think the most important thing to take away from all of this is that we should try and be more open and understanding when having difficult discussions with others. It's all right to question others' beliefs, but you should be open to really listening to their answer and trying to understand where they are coming from and what they're actually saying as you move forward in your discussion, not just what you think that they mean. Life is hard enough already. Let's try and make it a little bit easier for everyone and help make this world a little more empathetic. Thanks so much for watching. As we are a newer channel, we'd love it if you could like this video and subscribe to our channel to help us grow. Also, you can find us on Instagram and on TikTok at Rational Disbelief.
You can also let us know what you thought of this video in the comment section below. While you're there, feel free to leave suggestions for future topics we can explore in our journey of rational disbelief.